Greetings, cave dwellers out there. Rod here. Hey, today's video is a little bit different than the normal video that I put out. Now, I am going to be doing a follow-up on the Druids next time around, which I'll be definitely be putting that out in a couple days. I've been having a little bit of problems getting my scripts right, so bear with me on this. So, yes, I am scripted on my videos. I spend roughly 8 to 10 hours researching all the material, making sure I got it correctly in the correct order and everything else. And yes, I have been playing the game since 1978. But with all the 5th edition rules, I still remember the AD&D rules. So I kind of get my arrows conflicting, stuff like that. So I have to have it all solidified, typed out, and on a scrolling script, so I don't get off topic. Now, while I'm on this topic right now, I started in 1978. And Holmes Basic Set was introduced to it during the summer at Boy Scout camp. The guy shows up at the table, it was one of the Gunther twins, and they plopped down a coffee can full of dice. I'm checking them out, little edges are rolling off of them because they've been overused and abused. Because those dice back in the day, man, they were bad. But I digress. So, we get introduced to the game. We roll up characters. Everybody in the whole scout troop's playing that night at the picnic table. We got Coleman lanterns. It was great. We're outdoors enjoying ourselves, having a great time. My birthday, right? And I got, look at that, Player's Handbook. Who'd have thought? Wow, that's really cool. I got the Holmes Basic Set, and then I get the Advanced Dungeons & Dragons Player's Handbook. I really like this. Where's it going? So, I decide, spring comes around, I'll give me a lawnmower, I'm going to start mowing yards. I need some money. So, I had a habit that I was going to start forming here because I was getting a couple of modules here and there. And then, I'm like, well, what's next? So, Dungeon Master's Guide. Dungeon Master's Guide, I got that like 6 months later. And I was like, wow, cool. Here's stuff in this book. It can go with the other book. Lots of information. Even though this one said this is for Dungeon Master's eyes only, the players aren't allowed to read this book. Well, I already had it read. Cover to cover within the first week. And I started getting more yards. I was almost mowing half of my neighborhood by that time. I was very busy if I wasn't at school or helping run the family business, which was a janitorial service. We, sun up to sundown, I was busy, including with the Boy Scouts. So I turn around, I get the monster manual. Next thing you know, they're asking me if they can use my books in Scouts. So every time we went on a camp out for like a weekend or a week here, a week there, I'd bring my books along. You know, it was a no-brainer. So fast forward a few years. And then, what was it, 1985, 86, something like that? Unearthed Arcana comes out. I had a copy of this book in my rucksack in the Army. No matter where I was, it was always in that rucksack. I also had a copy of it in my room that I kept with all my other manuals and modules and stuff. I always had a Crown Royal bag full of dice and several other implements or supplemental stuff that I used in my games, and man, guys just loved it. It was fun times. If we weren't playing D&D, we were playing spades. If we weren't playing spades, we were playing D&D on our off time. So, if you take a look at it today, these books, they were like roughly $10 to $15 a piece, ballpark. And back then, now your books are like $50 a piece. It was really funny because back when I first got the thought of teaching veterans how to play Dungeons & Dragons, I was going to teach them 1st edition. I'd even had a conversation on Facebook with Limla Kafka about different things that he had put in, what was it, the Assassin's Knot, and another way that he thought it would be great to be RANT. I wish I had copied those notes off. Terrible. Bad DM. So, you look at it today, you've got like $50 a piece for books, right? And I managed to pick these up like $87. back before the whole COVID pandemic lockdown, where everything like jumped dramatically in price on Amazon. And my local bookstore didn't have a copy of these yet. And I wanted to have them so I could teach the veterans how to play. Great idea. So if you look at these books versus those books, it's roughly about the same information. It's just updated. And I think that, trying to use a word that's generic, I'd say that first edition was more in your face, this is the way it is. Fifth edition is a watered down, homogenized version of AD&D. And that's just my honest opinion. Because you don't need to have a rogue in your party anymore. You can just have a trickery domain cleric. You don't have to have a magic user in your party anymore. You can just have a tempest cleric. Or you don't need a fighter in your group anymore. Use a war domain cleric. And you could have a party full of clerics, and you don't need anything else. Which, that would be pretty interesting to run. Or a party full of druids. I'd like to try that one out too. Okay. So, then, like with the Unearthed Arcana, you had updates and everything else. And it was really cool because you got Paladin, you got other stuff. The Barbarian was introduced as a player instead of as an NPC. So that made it more fun. And it kind of it enhanced the game a little bit for the players and the Dungeon Master alike. And almost everybody I knew that played with had a copy of all these books anyway. And we played as if our characters had not known this information, which is the way you should play. You know, everybody's a Dungeon Master nowadays. Everybody has all the books. Everybody knows everything, right? So, Unearthed Arcana, basically, today is Sword Coast book, Xanathar's, and Tasha's Cauldron of Everything. So, there's roughly $150 worth of book here for one book. But the information's changed. Like I said, it's homogenized. You don't need to have a party of 5 different class characters. You could have 5 characters doing the role of 10 characters now, without the power of 10 characters. So you could have a cleric casting wizard spells. You can have a cleric as a fighter. You could have a druid as a fighter if you wanted to, because you got your wild shape. You can be a bear and you're the tank. You know, it's so many different ways to do it, because back then it was more outlined and specific. This is what you did, this is what you did, this is what you did. A, B, C, D, wash, rinse, repeat. Now it's like, hey, you can do this. Then, a little bit later on, you can do this, and this, and this, and this. And there's always that comma, and. We're adding more things in there. Now, I'm not complaining, I'm not griping. I'm just saying, I know, because back in the 70s, it was, this is what it is. Now, with everybody being diagnosed with Asperger's syndrome, ADHD, and all sort of stuff, people are more specific. Well, it says to do this, but I want to do something else. So that's why I'm going to be a half dwarf, half Goliath. And I'm going to get all these bonus stats and everything on top of that. So I got 2 racials that I could pull from. And then want to be a cleric warlock. But I want to be able to be a druid at the same time so I can wild shape. And then I want to bounce right out of that. So I want to also be a barbarian so I can rage. There's too many variables that are thrown out there today, honestly. This isn't a rant. It's just the way someone who used to play the game way back in the day could view the way it is played today. It's totally different. Honestly, I know several people that still insist on playing AD&D. They won't even consider playing 5th edition, even though their kids have asked them to play. The kids ask them to be a DM because they know that they have dungeon mastered way back in the past. And they still have the books sitting on their bookshelf at home, collecting dust. Because no one wants to play AD&D anymore. They all want to play the latest thing that's out there. Right now, that's 5th edition. Now, I do know, I've heard rumors that 6th is around the corner. But until then, hey, I'm all for what's going on right now because this is what I'm teaching veterans how to play so that they can assimilate back into playing with groups out here in the real world or being online playing with groups that they didn't even know existed. So, end of it. I'm going to go back to doing character class reviews, a few module reviews. I'm probably going to be, as a matter of fact, I will be doing a couple of more cooking videos. I've got the materials to do the work bacon out of the Hero's Feast book. I was going to get a hold of some trout to do the knucklehead trout recipe and cook that up for you guys. Trout's really expensive right now, and I really can't go fishing because where I go fishing at, it's a little bit not a good area to go. So, with that being said, I'll catch you guys later. You stay safe. Thank you for watching, and you